Hello, hello. Hey everyone. Good Sunday evening. So, this is just an impromptu stream, and I thought before we start our podcast later, I just come on and share a little bit about the experience of what it's like uh, having been kind of infected with COVID and what the full story is and what's the plan ahead. So, let me just say, or let me just start off with this. All right. So, I think I'm very fortunate because firstly, because I'm vaccinated, right? And of course, if you're vaccinated, if we trust any of the numbers out there, it looks like it's about 98% chance with mild symptoms or no symptoms. And I happen to be part of that 98%. And I'm hoping that I'm going to stay uh, as part of that 98%. So how did it all happen? I think Wednesday night, I went out, and when I came back in the evening, I was doing some work and I just felt a little bit unwell, right? And I got a bit of a headache as I was trying to read through some articles. And after a while, the body started to feel warm, right? And it's a different kind of warm because it's I don't know whether I got fever or not, right? But because the body was just yeah, it's just very uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, I didn't have a thermometer, but I was like, okay, since I guess I have fever, but because I don't get fever that often, and because it's COVID times right now, so I thought, well, um, might as well just do a test. And because inside our mailboxes, at least in my mailbox, I got the pack of the free ART test, right? So I just test and see what happens. So when you do the test, right, you're supposed to wait for 15 minutes before the results come out, and at 2 minutes, so as the liquid was going up, right, the indicator strip, um, then the test line, the T line, became like super duper dark, right, after just about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and then when it hit the C, which is the control, and then the control started to come up as well, right? So I was like, holy shit, like, is this possible? Did I really get it? Um, I was like, wow, okay. So it's really at that point that I started to go and ask myself, oh, what do I do? What should I do next? Do I need to do a retest? Do I need to do a PCR? What's the percentage accuracy of the ART test? So after looking through, the Ministry of Health, they have that little poster on what to do if your ART is positive. So I looked through it, and my friend started to send me things, and it says, okay, if you have symptoms and your ART is positive, and if you're a healthcare professional, then you should have to go and do a PCR test. So next morning, I got up, went to the clinic just right downstairs. They're supposed to open at 9, but they didn't open at 9. I was like, okay, 9:15 still not open. So I went to a clinic like another 300 plus meters away. Oh, and actually, before that, before I left the house, I told myself, okay, I'm going to try one more time, right? This ART thing. And what you guys saw in my previous post, which is the video of the ART, that's the second test that I did. So when I went down there to the clinic, the staff were amazingly calm, which was very reassuring. And when I went inside, I chatted with the doctor, and the doctor says, okay, what we're going to do now is ART, and after that, we are going to do a PCR, right? Because that's kind of what's indicated. So he did the ART, and he's like, wow, the line's so dark. I was like, wow, doctor, that means what? It's like, hey, we do PCR first. So they stuck the thing in my nose, and I was like, wow, it was super uncomfortable, right? I think those of us who have done a PCR test, we will be pretty aware. And the doctor says, okay, I asked the doctor actually, so what are the chances that it's going to come back as a negative PCR? Okay, he says, well, the ART, 80% chance it's accurate. But if you've taken 3 ARTs and all 3 are positive, then the chances are like PCR is going to be positive. Lah. So I was like, okay, and we were just chatting about it. And he was sharing that every day he sees 1 or 2 people who have now tested positive for COVID. Some of my other friends who are doctors, they say, as GPs, right? And they say, oh, every day it's about 5 or 6 people who come in and they get tested. I wouldn't say tested positive for COVID, right? So it's an ART positive, but they come in to do a PCR test. So then I was given a 3-day MC, and they said, okay, while you wait for the PCR test results to come out, then you have to stay at home and you have to go straight home. Okay, so I was like, okay, gave me some medicines and I went straight back home. Yeah, since at that point, like I really didn't know what to do really, right? Because like, oh, suddenly just stuck at home. Not that it's a very unfamiliar feeling for me, but I just didn't really know what to do at that point, right? So first thing I thought of is how to get food, right? So first 2 meals, I think, ordered Grab. But after a while, I realized that you can't survive on Grab food for every single meal because it's just too expensive, right? Everything is 30+% more costly than if you go down. And it feels very odd, right? Because it's like the coffee shop is like right opposite my house. Like if I look out the kitchen window, I can see the freaking coffee shop, but I just can't go down there to buy. Yeah. And so yeah, that's the story of how it goes. And I was still waiting and waiting and waiting. And that morning, about 9 plus or 10 a.m., I did the PCR test. That evening itself, about 11:20 or 11:30, that's where I got the SMS and the PCR test was positive. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so what's going to happen, right? And there are some forms for me to fill in to declare where I'm staying, to declare if I have any household members. And I'm fortunate, right, that because I stay alone right now, and I don't have to worry about infecting other people, number one. But number two, because there is no elderly above 80 or 70, and also because there is no one in my place with who's a part of the vulnerable population. So I don't have to go to a community care facility. Right? But it's quite interesting because just 2 days before this, I think the community care facility, they were looking for locum pharmacists, and they're like, oh, can you go and work there? I was like, not the right opportunity for me right now. That's because I had other priorities at work, right? And then 2 days later, kaboom, PCR positive. So that's at that point, I was like, okay, what's going to happen? Next day, I received a call. Oh, no. So at that point itself, they gave me a code on the phone, and they says, okay, please type in this PIN number to upload your trace together data from your phone. So that's what I did. Uploaded it, and I trust that they are going to do some contact tracing or stuff, right? So didn't really know what they're going to do with the data, but I know that the next day, a friend that I met for lunch on Sunday. So Wednesday night was when I had the fever. Thursday morning, I did the test. But the previous Sunday, I had lunch with a friend, and she actually got the HRW, right? The health risk warning. But thankfully, she did her PCR and her ARTs and all are negative, right? Which is great news. So everyone whom I have kind of come into contact with, they are all ART or all PCR negative, which is great news. So the next day, which is Thursday night, PCR result came back. On Friday, someone gave me a call about 5 p.m. in the evening, telling me that he's from the ministry, and it's a pre-quarantine order call. So I had to fill in this form, right, previously. And so he asked me, do you have a thermometer at home? And I said, no, I don't have a thermometer at home. Do you have oximeter at home? And I was like, no, I don't have an oximeter at home. And what else? Do you have a blood pressure meter or something? Yeah. And I said, no, I don't have any of that. Yeah. So he says, okay, they'll be sending me a care package. And I was like, okay. And he says, telehealth provider will give me a call to check in on me. And if not, then the order will be for 10 days. The first day is actually the day where I tested positive for PCR. And that will last until 10 days later. So it is 9 October. All right, 9 October will be day 10. Now, there is an option, however, and I didn't know this, right? So it's pretty interesting. There is an option actually on day 6 where you can order a home PCR test. And the person told me there is no charge to it, right? If you let the telehealth medicine provider know that, oh, you want to do a home PCR test, they will actually come down to your place, do a PCR test. And if the PCR test is positive, if it's negative, then you can go out straight away, right? And if it's positive, then you have to wait until day 10. Day 10, if don't have to do PCR, after 10 days are over, you can just walk out, right? So I'm looking to see if I can do a PCR test on the day 6, the home one. And yeah, hopefully that will test negative and I can get out of my house earlier than expected. Yeah. Well, I actually haven't received my care package yet. So I think by regulation or by the guidelines, I'm supposed to upload my O2 saturation, upload my temperature, and I'm supposed to upload my pulse rate every day. But I don't have either of those instruments. So I was like, oh, okay. But I can imagine, right? They must be pretty overwhelmed right now because, we all know the number of cases every day. The number of new cases is quite staggering. It's about, I don't know, the day when I got diagnosed is I think about 2.8K. Should be about 2.93K right now. So I can imagine they're pretty overwhelmed and they haven't sent the care package. But like I said, I'm lucky, right? Because I'm lucky to be part of the 98% so far who have mild symptoms or no symptoms. And I've heard of friends who are actually vaccinated and unvaccinated as well, right? And vaccinated, they are part of the 2%. And they have breathing difficulties right now and they are in the ICU. So my heart goes out to them. And I also know that every day that, there are seniors who, because of comorbidities or because, they were unvaccinated for some reason, they have passed on, which is always very sad news, right? Because, every death matters. Every person's life matters. Yeah. But it's always going to be a balance between a very extreme lockdown and freedoms of people, correct? So I've typed in some posts before in some commentaries, and I said I really don't envy the job of the people who have to decide what kind of lockdown, what kind of restrictions. Yeah. So food, I'm very fortunate that I have friends who send me care packages over. See, if my friends send me care packages before MOH package arrive, I thought MOH package should be the most important package. Yeah, but they're pretty overwhelmed. So I can totally understand, right? I think everyone in healthcare, be it this contact tracers, be it people who are working frontline, they've had a tough time over the past 1.5 years. And hopefully, with most of us who are vaccinated, and if we get infected, if most of us have mild symptoms or no symptoms, then that should ease the load off the hospitals. right? It's a tough job that a lot of my friends have to do right now, and I'm just thankful for them, right? Because they are there for me, they are there for all of us, and I just feel really, really fortunate. So how am I feeling right now? Well, the nice thing is that the fever has subsided, right? So on Thursday when I did the PCR, and I was still having fever, right? So other than 2 work calls, I slept for most of the day. And it's not because like I didn't want to work, right? Because I have things to do at work, and people who need kind of need me to be at work because I have a role to play in the company, right? And it's a startup. So I wanted to put in a bit more effort and also to be mindful of other people in the team. But the problem is because I had a headache, right? It was a really like very irritating kind of headache. The head was spinning. It was so frustrating. And every time I looked at the screen for a longer period of time, then the headache would get really, really intense, right? And it's just, I was like, okay, no, I can't. I got to stop. And because of that, I couldn't do much work on the screen. So it's like normally when I work, I have 2 computer screens, like what I'm looking at right now. So I can't look at the screens for long. I couldn't be on a long call because if not, the headache would be very, just very uncomfortable. So what I did on Thursday when I first found out is I just slept because I cannot do anything else, right? And the body was so exhausted. I tell you, I've never slept so much in the past year, I think, in one whole day. It's incredible. You just slept and slept and slept. And I mean, now thinking about it, it's like, it's amazing the amount of rest you can have if you don't have to work, or if I'm not able to use my computers, right? It's just very refreshing, I would say. So that was what happened on Thursday. Was still feeling that very cold kind of feeling. It's fever, right? So like the body feels warm, but actually outside it's just a bit. You feel cold, that hot cold kind of, kind of feeling. Friday, next day, it got better. The body was still achy. I still had a headache when I look at screens for a longer period of time. Oh, and of course, runny nose. Yeah, runny nose. When I had fever on Wednesday night, right? I also started to have runny nose. On Thursday, the blocked nose started to come in. And on Friday, that's where the cough started to come in and the sore throat, right? So like right now, my throat is still a little bit sore. I'm still coughing. So that's what happened. Right now, the fever seems to have subsided, which is great news. And because the fever has subsided, I feel like I can do more things, right? I can still come on and chat with you guys. I can still do my podcast later at 10:30. The body aches are still there, but it's less like achy compared to the previous few days. The runny nose seems to have stopped, which is good news. But the nose is still like really, really blocked, right? And as many of us might know, one of the symptoms of getting COVID is you might lose your sense of smell, or you might lose your sense of taste. So here's the thing, right? Like I was concerned, but I don't really know whether this loss of taste is because of my nose being very, very blocked, or whether it's because like I'm getting anosmia, which is the, I think that's what they call it, anosmia. That's the loss of smell or loss of taste. Yeah, so one of the things I got near me here is this. It's my favorite Haribo Happy Cola, but it comes in this little small packets. If you can see, yeah, there it is. And I normally buy the bigger pack, right? But I normally have this because from time to time, if I'm worried, do I still have my sense of smell? Then I would open one packet and I'll just put it in my mouth and I'll chew and chew and chew. So then I'll blow out really hard just to make sure that I can still smell or taste something, right? So for now, every time I blow out really, really hard and I chew on something, yeah, I can still taste it. But the truth is, it doesn't taste like before, right? It's not as tasty. And because of that, right, I don't feel like I have a similar kind of appetite as compared to last time. So Thursday, I didn't really feel hungry the whole day. I didn't have lunch. I just had a little bit for dinner. Friday, wasn't really hungry as well. Yeah. And because every time I ate something, be it pizza, be it I don't know, bak kut teh, there was one night I ordered bak kut teh. It wasn't as tasty lah. Yeah. Well, but the good news is that if it really is a loss of taste or a loss of smell, there's a very, very, very high chance that it's going to come back to normal, which means that it will get better. Because it seems that that for COVID-19, this particular virus, it doesn't really affect the nerves, all right, the olfactory nerves, but more of it affects the support cells. Yeah, I was reading this article on Harvard Business Review, right? And in fact, I also, through that article, I also realized, sorry, not Harvard Business Review, it's Harvard Medical Review, something like that. But through the article, right, I also realized that the number of people who actually got fever, it's way less than the number of people who have lost, like temporarily lost the sense of smell or sense of taste. And in fact, it is 27% higher for a person who has COVID to lose their sense of smell or taste compared to, getting something like fever. So yeah, I'm okay now. Of course, I have to deal with some of the flu-like symptoms, and as I mentioned, the cough, the aches, etc. But some of you might have heard me say this before, and I remember in the past when I had flu, right before COVID, when I had flu, it actually felt worse than this. Like it's 1 or 2 days that you can't even get out of bed, that kind of bad, But this was so much more manageable, and yeah. So I am looking forward to day 6, where I can, if I can, order a home PCR test so that it'll hopefully test negative. I can get out of my house earlier. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you have any questions that you want to ask me. If you have any questions to ask me, I'll answer it as far as I know. Let me see. I had some questions from some people. I might just take this chance to answer it. Oh, okay. A lot of people ask me, how did I get COVID? Well, actually, the truth is, I have absolutely no idea how I got COVID. Right. So those of you who are familiar with my schedule, you might know that usually in the evenings, weekday evenings, I would go out to play squash, or I'll go out and do yoga, or I'll go out and meet friends. So either one of these, right? Usually it's sports. But because this week I was injured, so like I strained my leg, right, during squash. So I did not go out for any physical exercise this week. Right. I think on Monday onwards, at most went to the coffee shop, buy some food and come back. Yeah. So if I look back to the weekend, I think it probably was through, I don't know, on my way out to buy food. I didn't really go out much. Yeah, could be public transport, could be someone just who walked past, could be surfaces, could be anything, right? So I don't really know where I got it, don't really know how I got it, but how do I feel about getting it? Honestly, it's not too worrying. I mean, you might be able to tell I'm rather calm about it. And I can tell you why I'm calm about it, right? So firstly, there is a sense of comfort knowing that I've done whatever I could, right? Whatever regulations were there, I followed the regulations. Talk about vaccination. I was vaccinated in January or February, right? And I mean, if we understand vaccinations, we will understand that the vaccinations don't prevent you from getting COVID, right? But it prevents you from getting serious illness, at least at what it seems now to be a 98.1% chance. So I've never, it wasn't so much of a surprise to me that I got COVID because I kind of felt like at some point I would get it unless I stay at home for every single thing and I don't head out, right? The moment I head out of my place, there is a chance that I'm going to contract the virus. So I didn't choose to get COVID. I followed all the regulations. So now that I've got it, yeah, I'm just going to deal with it and hopefully I stay in the 98%. And I have that confidence and I have that comfort because I'm vaccinated. So it's not a surprise to get it. And therefore, I feel like I'm taking it pretty well. Yeah. Let me see if there are other questions. Okay. I think that seems to be it. So thank you for joining me on this rather impromptu session. But I just want to put out a message out there that if you're eligible for vaccination and you have not been vaccinated, go ahead and do it. I mean, there are some people who cannot be vaccinated, but if you can be vaccinated, go out and get vaccinated because, hey, touch wood, right? If you get COVID, you want to be in the 98%. All right. It's, when I see people who are suffering right now because they can't breathe, it's difficult to describe that feeling, right? I feel very sad. I mean, I want all my patients to be well. It's just heartbreaking, I would say. So you don't know what it's like until you actually get it. And sometimes, just like many other conditions, sometimes once you get the condition and you suffer the ramifications of it, then it might be too late to regret. Yeah. So do whatever you can to be protected. And if you do that, whatever happens, at least your sense of assurance and comfort, like myself right now, is you've done your best, right? And I believe, my personal belief at some point, the total number of vaccinations, the total number of people who have contracted COVID at some point, it's not going to matter that much already. 3,000, but 5,000. I think what matters really will be the number of people who are hospitalized or in ICU. Because if you are looking at the 2% of people who are vaccinated plus the 16% who have a higher of unvaccinated who have a higher chance of getting COVID. All right. So if all these people get COVID and they don't react well to it, then they will overwhelm the healthcare system. And personally, that's where I get worried. Right. For the rest of us, I hope that none of you ever get COVID. But if you do, then rest assured that if you're in the 98%, which is a pretty good chance, you'll be suffering mild symptoms or no symptoms. And it will just be 10 days of, I don't know, what you do. Netflix at home every day for 10 days, watch Squid Game. And after that, you'll just walk out. And life goes on. All right, so I wish all of you good health. I wish you happiness. And if I can help you with anything, as always, do drop me a message. And for all of you who have sent me care packages, oh my God, like my fridge is so full right now. I have so many pints of ice cream. I'm just so grateful, right? Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for your care. And let me know if there's anything that I can do for you. All right. Take care, everyone. Chat with you guys again. Okay. Bye-bye. Oh, in half an hour, we'll be on the Inside Podcast. This is the final show of our season. And we are going to discuss various emotions, right? But on this evening, half an hour later, we're going to talk about joy. How ironic, right? Joy. So do join us. It'll be a nice conversation with the clinical psychologist and a meditation teacher from France. Thank you, everyone. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.